Okay. Never fails. Lovely. So what I want to do now is talk about some of the results that we got. So and what I want to do is first show you some of the summary statistics for the sessions, and then talk about and then dig into the details of the two research questions. So first, you see here is a table that just lists some basic information about the sessions. One of the things I want to point out is that the total session times were about 5 or 6 minutes on average for the exploratory tasks, and not surprisingly for the known item tasks they were shorter. Note though that the total fixation durations was a lot less than the total task time. And that's because the fixations are only a part of what goes on when somebody is looking at a screen. Remember, the fixations are just where your eyes stop and look. If your eyes are moving during the saccades, that time doesn't count. We're just looking at the fixation time. Also, if the subject was looking down or looking away, or if they blinked or closed their eyes or rubbed their eyes, then there's a number of things that don't get captured. So this only captures a part of the time that the whole task was in, but it's an important part because it's the time when they were actually fixating on and focused and attending to information that's on the screen. So you can see that of a 5 or 6 minute average time, only about 1 or 2 couple of minutes were they fixated, or were they attending to a specific aspect of the screen. But we'll look at that time in a minute. You can also see the average number of unique queries, the number of times that they narrowed by facets or broadened by facets. You can see the total number of clicks excluding the checkbox clicks. Those are the clicks that they used to indicate that they were selecting a book in the task. And it's an indicator of how much interaction they were interacting with the screen. Okay, so now let's look at the first research question, which is how long did they spend looking at specific elements of the screen? And what we did is we summed up the total average time, and you can see from this chart that there are significant differences between the way they were looking at the facets for the exploratory tasks and the known item tasks. Well, the first thing you can see is that they were obviously spending a lot less time on the known item tasks, and that's not surprising because they were fairly easy. If we look, and those are significant differences. So if we turn our attention and focus on the exploratory tasks, you can see that for all 4 of the exploratory tasks, the average amount of time spent on the facets was about half of the amount of time spent on the results. The amount of time spent on the query was a lot less. So you can see in task A, for example, they spent approximately 46 seconds duration fixated on the results. They spent about 25 seconds fixated on something in the facets. They spent about 6 or 7 seconds fixated on the query AOI. The other AOIs were smaller amounts than that, so we only dug into those 3. Everything else was a lot smaller. And those differences are significant at the p less than 0.05 level. What else? So then you can see that so that tells us that they are looking at the results. And what's interesting is that in some sense there's a lot more information on the results themselves, but they are really focusing on if you look at the amount of information and the amount of screen space devoted to the results, that's probably 5 or 6 times the amount of screen space and textual information that's available on the facets, but they're only using it about twice as much. So that says, tells us that the facets are being looked at quite a bit. The next, okay, so let's pause there and see